Hey there, welcome to the Jeep Journals, or so I've dubbed this channel affectionately. It's a page where I talk about the things that entertain me. You know, this is YouTube, so I'm telling you about me. And today I had the idea for another song, which I think will capture what it was like when we spent time together. So, in this particular instance, I came out for a walk in nature. I just got back from a true wonder of the world, and I expect to show some of that video after this clip, immediately following whatever I record. And what I wanted to do is showcase just how some things pale in comparison. So, in that same sentiment, some things pale in comparison to when I spend time with you. And if you don't know who you are, that's okay. Perhaps I don't either. With that in mind, this video was talking to a specific subject of how I returned from a journey and I went to go take a simple walk, but it wasn't so simple. I didn't want to get out and take the walk because it didn't seem like it could be as amazing without you. With you, I can share my findings, my insight, my concerns, my rewards, my laughter, my joy, even my sadness. And I think that in many cases, what we've gotten detached from is to share fully ourselves in a way where we can communicate openly and sustainably. And I know that some of these words may sound out of context or like they don't make sense, but just to show you how wonder-filled I am, look at something I found on the trail. I mean, look, this is like right close to my face. How amazingly, freakishly large of a leaf that is, right? So you start to wonder every so often as you journey through these ecospheres, what exactly is possible when life is nurtured? And in that same regard, I really think about how many of us may not have flourished the way that we could if someone had just nourished us with some basic gratitude even. Gratitude is in a lot of ways contained in our attitude and how we treat one another. And a lot of times how we treat one another sometimes seems pretty obvious, but let's just say, for an example, you were to visit the remote wilds of West Texas, where there is no running electricity, where there is no running water at your campgrounds, and somebody wants to play really loudly some music or another. Even my own music probably would seem intrusive in a space like that. But what's more intrusive is the energy behind what it is that we're introducing to something. For that same reason that we can hear birds squawking for the attention of their mothers so that they can receive food in these wild areas, we can also see the mother at some point weaning these needy creatures who constantly require attention and nourishment that they are not even currently obtaining on their own. So again, all these subjects might sound a little bit crazy. The wind might be causing you to question whether you should watch this or not. But if you're watching, then I'd like to continue to challenge you to consider just for a moment that while I'm recording this, we are still in the season of Lent. And Lent is simply a topic that talks about going without certain things for a period of time in order to heal more than just ourselves. It even talks about maybe giving those portions of food you might have eaten to somebody or something else that maybe could benefit from that nourishment. So again, I'm talking about a lot of subjects that seem not interlinked, but only to those who are not quite fully aware of how every action of ours directly impacts something else. For an example, if I need more housing built, then we're going to have a lot more destruction and construction. At the same time, we could also be refinishing the things that only need a little bit of refinishing in order to be used by the next generation. So sustainability has a lot to do with making decisions that can impact one another's lives and livelihoods. And that's why I left corporate income, where it's possible that I might have touched a lot more lives than I do now. And on the flip side to that, as we all know, we can only bring a horse to water. We can't necessarily make it drink. So if some entity is not thirsty to begin with, it's not going to really appreciate the liquid sustenance that was brought to it, or that it was brought to. It might not put a relation together. So in this particular clip, I wanted to put a relation together for you so that you understand that although I have great hope and expectations for our future, for the future of humanity and mankind, and people kind, I should say, even though I have tremendous hope, I can't help but wonder why, when I came from my garden this morning, the mountain laurels are in fuller bloom, why the red buds are more nourished than in this wilderness area in which I am walking right now. Now, in the state park area of the wilderness that I just visited, the amount of life was unbelievable in certain areas. However, on a day just like today, where the sun makes the ground approach 80 degrees, in general, in the past, I would have been extremely observant of all the reptiles, amphibians, and mammals and insects that we would have had. And so, as you bear with me for this so far under 10-minute segment, please recognize that I've walked uphill, broke a little sweat, and not been visited by a single insect on this day, which is possible, because of what might be causing it, which would be the decrease or the increase in wind speed. The increase in wind speed. If the wind speed was decreased just a little bit, maybe there'd be more insects. At the same time, where are all the birds? You know, I hear a few, but in the neighborhood in which I reside, where many of the insects were on the same breezy day earlier, when the sun had not even warmed the temperatures to this range, there were already insects and birds. And primarily, I believe it's because in our manicured lawns, we have watering privileges. And so many of us keep yards that are nourished regularly with water, which brings, of course, life. And what we may not recognize is that we're drying up all of these resources so rapidly, and without even paying attention to what's on the fringe, on the outskirts of even our own subdivisions, that we may not realize why it is that we're being visited by more and more animals in our residential areas. At least here in the neck of the woods where I'm at, which is the Texas region of the United States. I don't know what it's like in your area, but in my area, we have a lot of elected leaders who basically call out what dollars go to where and for what reasons. And I don't see many of them walking on any of these trails, at least not with myself. I invited some of the presidential officials to walk with me at some point and heard nothing in response, despite my contributions. But, you know, what do you expect from a busy leader? For me, when I prioritize life and I think about how essential it all is, I wonder, if water is life, just as one example, why would I have the right to sell it to you in resources that cost so much water to begin with? It's like wasting life to contain a quick shot of life, which is oftentimes drying up the very resources that pretty much everyone and everything that lives needs. Those are my basic thoughts. So as I wrote this song, I wrote it in the mindset that this was the last time we saw one another, whenever we saw one another last, which is why I'm telling you, it was difficult to go on this walk. It was difficult to get outside of my own vehicle to begin this walk, because I didn't feel the same spark of joy that I felt when I saw you last. So that's the idea that goes into this song that I'm going to summarize all of this almost 12 minutes worth of video into, so that you can hear what it is that it feels like to almost have a broken heart, and so that you can understand what it means to feel spark of joy and how you brought that spark of joy to me. So thanks so much for watching this journey. The Jeep Journals is just a temporary nickname that I gave this channel. And like everything changes, especially based on the course of the water. The erosion that happens is so magnificent. I don't even know. It's like, where did this come from? I don't remember seeing leaves this big in this park. There have been some tremendous wind storms going across the nations, and maybe this came from somewhere so far away, just like the balloons that I retrieved in the middle of the desert environment, in the middle of nowhere in West Texas. So again, thanks for the feedback. Thanks for the shares. Thanks for really paying attention to what I'm saying here, and for understanding how valuable you are to me and how much I consider our friendship so far greater than any value whatsoever. And in the future economy, when we no longer barter based on dollars and we just barter based on what is supposed to be participating in the system and what isn't, at that point in time, some might call that a revolution, but at that point in time, I believe artificial intelligence will even understand the solutions that are occurring. And because of that, even technology itself will change directions, or at least change speed to adjust accordingly when it sees traffic approaching, so that we can help one another out on these paths to accomplish that which it is that we are destined to accomplish, with or without the assistance of one another. So thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned. Here comes probably one of the most fascinating videos from West Texas that you will have witnessed in any recent time. Till next time, peace, love, and all that old school stuff.